Hello, my name is Dale. I'm one of the pastors here at Redeemer Bible Church. Thanks for joining us for the Daily Word today. If you want to grab your Bibles and turn to Matthew chapter 15, we're going to pick up in verse 21. Just for a little connection point, yesterday we had Jesus being confronted and his disciples being confronted by the religious leaders in Israel, the scribes and the Pharisees, and Jesus confronted them with their own motivations and expose them to a group of people for their bad motives. And Jesus taught that group of people what it meant to honor God with their lives. So we're going to pick up today in verse 21. This is an interesting passage. I really don't have an outline for you outside to say. The outline really is the rest of the chapter, verses 21 through 39, and I would just title that Jesus and his Gentiles, or Jesus and the Gentiles, I should say. So he leaves the religious people. This is an important moment in the book, because you've got God turning now away from Israel and now turning towards the Gentiles, and it starts off a little rough, and I'll explain what I mean by that here in a second. So go ahead and drop your eyes down to verse 21 in Matthew 15, and I will switch glasses so I can read, and join me, please. And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman, a Canaanite. Now, I don't have a ton of time to get into it, but not friendly towards Israel, and Israel not friendly towards them. A Canaanite woman from the region came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord," calls him Lord, "Son of David." She refers to him by his right title. Not even the Pharisees or the scribes ever did that. "O Lord, Son of David, my daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." But he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and begged him, saying, "Send her away, for she is crying out after us." So, not really showing love for their fellow man there. He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came up and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." So she calls him Lord again. Now, briefly, Lord means master. It means boss. It means I'm serving you. Like you're the one whom I'm serving. So she calls him Lord twice. And then she says, "Help me." And he answered, "It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." Jesus is making a point here. And she said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire." And her daughter was healed instantly. Jesus was, there's a couple different thoughts on this and some commentaries, but I think bottom line, Jesus was upholding the set apartness of Israel as God's chosen people. But then I think he's testing her faith. I think she's called him Lord twice, and I think he's thinking, okay, let's see if I'm your Lord. And she passed the test of faith, right? It's not a test of works. It's a test of faith, of trust. She came to him in trust on behalf of, and I think this is an important contrast to what we read yesterday. She came to Jesus on behalf of somebody else, not for herself. Let's say that again. She wasn't coming to Jesus to be seen. She wasn't coming to Jesus to be made much of. She was coming to Jesus based on the need that her daughter had of being possessed by a demon, and she knew that only Jesus could help. That's an act of humility, and Jesus, I think, more so for his disciples, was testing her and showing that God has indeed come, not only for the Jews but also for the Gentiles. In the rest of our reading will play that out. Verse 29, Jesus went on from there and walked beside the Sea of Galilee. And he went up on the mountain and sat down there. And great crowds came to him, bringing with him the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute, and many others. And they put them at his feet, and he healed them. So that the crowd wondered when they saw the mute speaking, the crippled healthy, the lame walking, the blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel. Now these are Gentiles now glorifying the God of Israel. Isn't it an interesting contrast that Jesus shows up in Jerusalem, does the same types of things, and he is not glorified, and the God of Israel is not glorified? He is confronted, and he is challenged to the point where he withdraws. Verse 32. Then Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion on the crowd, because they have been with me now 3 days, and they've had nothing to eat. And I'm unwilling to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. And his disciples said to him, Where are we to get enough bread, such a desolate place, to feed so great a crowd? And Jesus said to them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7, and a few small fish. And directing the crowd to sit down on the ground, he took the 7 loaves of fish. Having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up the 7 baskets full of broken pieces left over. Those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And after sending away the crowds, he got into the boat and went to the region of Magadan. So here you have Jesus spending 3 days with about, if you do the numbers, 10 to 12,000 people on a hillside. And he feeds them. I believe that this is a separate instance. This is, he feeds these people, but the feeding of the 5,000 men, this is 4,000 men here, 10 to 12,000 people here, probably more in line of 12 to 15,000 people at the other. Jesus has compassion on hunger. Jesus has compassion because they had not eaten in 3 days. That is very telling about the character of God and the compassion that he has for our circumstances here on earth. So as you go into your day-to-day, remember, as Jesus taught in Matthew chapter 6, God cares about the sparrow. He cares about the sparrow. How much more does he care for you? It's an interesting part of Matthew where Jesus starts to interact with Gentiles and healing them and providing for them, and them calling him Lord. It's a great foretaste into the rest of the New Testament. So have a great day today, and we'll see you here tomorrow. We'll start Matthew chapter 16. God bless.